Jennifer Ferguson with Artistic Painting Studio, and I'm here from Huntington Beach, California. I'm very excited to be here with Home Talk today, and I get to share with you my coffee table makeover. Andy is my cameraman, and she's going to come in here maybe a little closer and show you the top of my coffee table, which kind of already shows you that we did get a little started ahead of time. And the reason being is that we're using my texture medium, and with working with this, it takes a good hour plus for this product to dry. So there was no way we had enough time to do this and allow it to dry and actually finish the project. So even though I've already done it here on the coffee table, we're going to show you complete step-by-step on everything that I've done. So we're going to get going, and I'm going to have Andy follow me over to a little section I got where I can demo this. Like I said, we're using my texture medium, and my texture medium is a plaster. It's something that I've actually created that works awesome with the rollers as far as troweling it on. It's easy to work with and manageable, and also the rollers go through it really easy. And also I'm working with a Japanese trowel, which is very comfortable to hold on to. It has a little bit of flexibility and is probably the most user-friendly trowel to start with. Being right-handed, I load the product onto the right-hand side of my trowel, and I'm working on a black sample board here so that you can really see the plaster, okay? And a little bit about troweling this on. When you're trying to trowel the product on to begin with, you keep a pretty shallow angle to the trowel so that you're actually moving it from here to the surface. And then you can kind of move it around. And I did this on black so you could see really well the material going on, and also see how thin that I'm actually applying it. When working with the rollers, we want to keep it basically as thin as we can to get the design to print into the medium, but it doesn't have to be on here very thick. So, not that I'm able to actually measure this thickness at the moment, but I always say somewhere between maybe a 1/16 of an inch to an 1/8 of an inch in thickness is what you're looking for, so that I don't have it on too heavy. Now, there is no really wrong way to do this. If you wanted a really deep, thick impression, you can definitely do it. You're just going to find that having that much texture onto a surface, you're also going to end up with a lot of product getting caught into the design of the roller, which means you just have to clean it more often. So no big deal. It kind of just depends on the look and the texture that you're wanting to create. I also will fair warn you that I make this look really, really easy, okay? I've been doing this for so many years that everybody tells me that the trowel is kind of like connected to my arm, okay? So basically, I just got a smooth surface. You can tell that it's really thin. And then this is the Crocodile pattern roller that we're going to start with. And just one quick thing, I always say, well, before you start, make sure it's spinning really well, because that way you're not going to get a slide or it's going to skip on you. And all I do is start at the top or the end of my project. And I'm going to say I'm watching this edge, okay? I'm not watching the roller as I'm rolling, but I'm watching the edge. I'm going to try to keep it as straight going down as I can. And that way, you're getting your first pass as straight as you can, and all your additional passes are going to follow that one. So when I come back up here and line up, I don't have to try to be perfect or even overlap a little bit, but I'm watching that edge so that I'm trying to at least stay straight. And then let's get our third pass going through here. Now, I have to say, doesn't that look pretty easy? It's not that difficult. And worst case scenario, let's say you don't like something you did, you don't like the way the roller went through, you had too much in the area, too thin in the area. This is what you're going to do, okay? You're just going to wipe it back out, and you can roll it right through again, okay? So no big deal. They're just simple, simple to play with, and you don't have to feel like, you know, you've done something, you can't correct it. The other thing I want to show you guys is, I'm going to throw this in a bucket of water so it doesn't dry, but this is just a little scrubber brush that I use. And if I'm only place I have to clean it is like my utility sink or kitchen sink, then you can just kind of scrub out the material. The easiest way to clean them is your garden hose on a 5-gallon bucket in your yard and just squirt out the material. The quicker you get to it, the easier they clean up. And I'm just going to throw it in a bucket of water so it doesn't dry while we're doing some other stuff. So from here, we're going to go back and, oh, actually, I want to show you one more thing. Here's a sample that I already started. And unfortunately, I'm not sure how well you can see this one because I did basically a tone on tone. But the edges pop up. The roller will peak the material a little bit so you can see some of these higher peaks. And all I do is take about a 120 sandpaper, because it's going to be noisy, and sand that off so that it's just smooth to my touch. I don't want to lose the actual design, but we want to get rid of those rough edges. So that's it for actually doing the roller. One other thing that I'm going to show you when I come back over here to the table is I wanted to make sure that I did get this lined up down the center of the table. So I actually started down here, and I centered the first one right through the middle and went all the way down, and then went on either side. So that way I kind of have the pattern distributed as evenly as I could. The next thing that we're going to do is I'm going to actually paint the entire top where the Crocodile roller went through, and I have the texture. And I'm using Modern Masters Smoke, which is a metallic paint. And anytime I get into a larger surface, I'll use a roller. I'm just going to use a foam roller, but I'm also going to still use my art brush and cut in the edges and try to be neat while doing this. And that's why I do like working. You'll notice I'm working with a pretty small art brush here. It's called an art wash brush, but they're fabulous to work with, and I can cut a pretty straight edge so I don't have to try to cut this in later or use tape all the time. And this is one of those colors by Modern Masters that is pretty opaque. So we should almost be able to go on with complete coverage in one pass, which will make this project even go faster. So as I'm getting the edges done, just going to go ahead and roll into here. Let's see how much coverage we can get quickly on this. So it looks like I'm pretty happy with what we've got going on here. Oh, this is actually looking pretty cool with just even that, okay? I'm going to go ahead and start with the next step on this. And I'm switching now to Debbie's Design Diary, DIY Paints. Absolutely love this. This is a chalk paint. And I'm going to paint this on the rest of the table. Okay, now I want to try to not mess up what I've already done. So I'm actually going to turn this way. Switch places with me, Andy, because there's no way I can do this going the other direction. But I'm just using a blade here to shield, and that way I can get right up to that edge and hopefully have no bleed under, and get my first coat of this is, I believe, let me don't quote wrong, it's Old 57. This is definitely one of my favorite colors by DIY Paints. And yeah, this is going to work pretty good. So I'm just kind of moving that along. There's a little groove there, that should hopefully keep me off of the smoke color while I get this edge painted.
Debbie says, nice job, Jen.
Thank you, Debbie. We love your paint. And then the other thing, as I'm brushing, I know everybody's probably... I'm sorry?
Herb just joined.
Oh, well, hello, Herb. How's Mr. Bling himself today? As I'm painting this on, I know you guys are probably cracking up that I really do like these tiny little brushes, but I'm not a fan of sanding. So the smoother I can actually paint something on, the happier I am. And while I'm painting this, you'll notice that I'm always fanning back in to what I've already done, which will not leave any stop and start marks in your work.
Karen loves that color.
It is a great color. But so you can see how I'm always going back into and kind of fanning, and I lift my brush up, and there's really no marks or identification of where I started and stopped here, which is a good thing because, like I said, I really not much on sanding. So the less I have to actually sand anything, the happier I am.
Jen, what color is that?
It's Old 57 by Debbie's Design Diary DIY Paints. You can definitely find her online, then possibly a retailer near you. We have it here at my location as well as down at San Clemente at La Casa Verde. And there's retailers all over the United States. Great product to work with. Looks like I've made it all the way around. We are ready to kind of move to the next section. And I'm going to need Andy's help here because we're going to try to gracefully turn this around without spilling anything. And here we go. So let's see. We're doing pretty good. We're still a little wet, I think. Not bad. Okay, just a little wet there. So what I'm going to do is this side I already had one coat on. And we can see we even got a little bit of bleed through. We're going to have to embrace that. But I'm going to go ahead and show you what's I call a dry brush technique. I'm now going to use, again, the Debbie's Design Diary DIY paint, and I'm using sea glass for some contrast. But I'm just going to dry brush this on, and this is, this brush is just, it's like a stencil brush as far as the type of bristle, but it's domed shape and flat. So it makes a really good dry brush tool. So once I've loaded the paint on, then I actually offload it onto a paper towel so that the brush is pretty dry. And then I can just come in here and drag it over the paint that I've already put on. And all it's going to do is like pick up the texture and give us a little bit of contrast and interest. And I'm hoping you guys can see that really good. We've turned the light on the camera, so hopefully everybody's going to be able to see this really well. But how you can see that, you're going to get a little bit of a distressed look where it's coming in and highlighting all the texture. And even though I was trying to paint as smooth as possible, there's still always going to be a little bit of texture going on. think I'm kind of happy with that. And because I'm also going to be using another metallic on the top, I think I'm gonna also dry brush with just a little bit of metallic on the edges here. Okay, I'm one who, as things get done and I start creating, to me, they just evolve and happen. And I had a couple ideas in my mind of exactly what I wanted, but I want to be able to see the contrast. So I think adding maybe this teal might make me even a little bit more. So this is Modern Masters Metallic Paint again, and this color is teal. Okay, so I'm happy with this section here, and we're gonna let this dry, and then I'm gonna do some dry brushing on the smoke. So again, I'm dry brushing. I just gotta really wipe this off because I dipped my brush into the container of paint. But I want to highlight the actual pattern here and just bring in a little bit more color. So this is going to kind of bring the texture alive and tie in the old 57 that I've already painted the sides with. And this is something I love to do. I love to kind of marry all my colors together if I can with my projects, so that I have, a little bit from the side going on to the top, and just kind of bringing things together. Looking pretty good here. So now I kind of just get to go back and critique my own work and decide if I want to have the teal any stronger in any one place. Because like I said, this is just kind of highlighting. It's going to give some interest and depth. Gives a whole lot more depth to the crocodile pattern, because now that we've highlighted the edges, it just creates more dimension.
Jen, when you're done with this, will this be waterproof?
Yes, because we're going to put on a wonderful top coat that will protect this entire finish so that my household will not be able to destroy it. We have a few young men living in my house, so we have to make sure everything has a lot of top coat. But yes, that'll definitely get done after all the steps are completed. And any type of paint I use, I don't care what paint it is, I'm always going to apply a top coat, especially if it's a piece of furniture or cabinetry. You need to protect your work. None of these paints are meant to be, handled daily in and out. So they all are going to need a top coat. Okay. I think I'm done with that. That looks really cool. What do you guys think?
They're liking it.
Yeah.
Some people don't like the teal, but this is really cool.
Well, I'm not done yet, so don't judge me, okay? But the teal to me just brings out so much more depth. And you could have used maybe a gray on gray, but this teal's not that strong that I don't think it overpowers the gray underneath. Final coat is a wipe on varnish. And it's meant just to be wiped on. Write that down for me. So we're just meant to wipe it actually onto the surface. And I only use these staining pads with it because they're meant to be really, really thin coats that we're applying. So I just dip it over. I don't pour a ton of material into here. And because we've got a lot of nooks and crannies, I'm just going to wipe this on, and if I can't get it all the way in there, I might have to use my brush to get it down in. But you can see how deep this is actually going, and now you might be able to see all the contrast and the colors that I've got to come in here. That's drying, I can glaze the top. So again, here goes another product, okay? This is just a black glaze. That's already a mixed up glaze. I'm going to pour it out onto a palette. And that way we'll have some glaze to work with. And I love to use my chip brushes and cheesecloth. So I'm going to start this and glaze up the top. I'm going to try to just stay on the crocodile right now because I haven't finished everything else up. So I might have a little touch up later to do. But when you're glazing a surface, you just apply the glaze. The chip brushes are wonderful to apply it. I do try to keep it as neat as possible as I'm putting it on, but it's not mandatory. So you can still see the teal coming through. It creates a little bit more dimension and depth. And then this is also going to be done on the entire thing. So once I get all my coats done, I get all my dry brushing done, I seal the chalk paint with the final coat, then I'm actually going to come back and I'm going to glaze everything.